Hello everyone, it's Rob B here with Rob D, and you are listening to our final podcast of the year. And this week, Rob and I are reflecting on what has been a crazy year.
Welcome to the Property Podcast. If you are listening to this episode, you're one of our favourites because you are not switching off from your property goals just because it's those few weird days at the end of the year. Or maybe you're sick of your family and want to put your headphones in. Either way, we are glad to have you here as we look back and reflect a little bit on the year that 2023 has been. We're going to be doing a lot of looking ahead in the coming weeks. We're going to be making our predictions for the year ahead, revealing our hotspots. But before we do that, it's worth having a little look back. Property-wise, Rob, how do you think we'll be remembering 2023?
Right now, it feels like it's been, a turbulent year or an unexpected year. But as far as history goes, in 10 years' time, when we look back at this year, I actually think it's a bit of a nothing year. You have the presence bias, where you're like, today, everything feels bigger. Every war feels bigger. Every world event feels bigger. But they always feel bigger in the here and now. And it's not to dismiss what goes on in the world. It's just that when we are living the moment, those moments always feel exaggerated bigger. And as time progresses and we look back, those emotions, those senses often feel like weaker and less emotive. And you look back and go, oh, well, the property market dipped by a few percent. So what? In the grand scheme of things, it may feel a bit turbulent right now. But actually, I think history will show it as a bit of a nothing year. What do you think, Rob?
I agree. I think it's been hard to get a handle on a lot at the time. And a mistake that everyone always makes is to take what's happening right now and project it forwards forever. So there have been times throughout the year that have been tricky. So around about June, I think it was, where there was an inflation surprise, rates went up, mortgage products got pulled. It's very easy. A lot of people fall into this trap of going, well, this is how it is now, so it's always going to be like this. And therefore, next year is going to be like that. But then a few weeks later, the picture had changed again. And I do think in general, because of the way media, including social media, works now, everything seems more exaggerated, even as it's happening. So this isn't a property example, but remember back in maybe March or so, there was all this stuff about a banking crisis. There are a few banks in the US that collapsed, and it was talked about for about a month as if this was like the beginning of the end. This is another financial crisis. And this story was everywhere. And then, can you even remember it now? It just didn't go anywhere. And in property, one of the biggest stories of the year, which is the government finally getting a move on with rental reform, also turned out to be a bit of a nothing. It'll become a something at some point, but it went nowhere fast. And then the abolition of Section 21 ended up getting kicked into the long grass, for the time being at least.
You're right, Rob. I completely forgot about the banking crisis, and I wonder how many of the people listening to this right now had also forgotten about it. It's easily done. So I don't think it's going to take long for people to forget about this property year as a whole. The years that people truly remember are the booms and the crashes, and this year has been neither of those. It's not been a boom, it's not been a crash, it's just been a slight dip, and that's all it's been. And that's not actually that newsworthy. Now, us are probably guilty of it, and the wider media as well, of looking at it and talking about it and being very hyped up about it at certain periods of time. But we all do that. But that's why I like this episode, when you kind of stop, pause, and reflect. And you go, actually, it's not that bad, or it's not that big. And it brings us back to the lesson that we've given so many times over the years in the podcast, which is time is your friend. And that's how you should approach property investment. Time. Because time doesn't care about these years. Your wealth doesn't care about these years. These are nothing years. If your wealth's gone down a few percent this year, in the grand scheme of things, that's nothing. Because you'll have a lot more positive years. And I think that's a powerful lesson that we're not going to stop repeating, Rob, because it is so important.
It really is. That's property and the year in general, but there is more to life than property, apparently, so I've been told. So, Rob, on a personal level, how are you feeling as this year draws to a close?
Ready for a break, Rob. I think I say that every year. It's been a mixed year, which I'm sure it has been for most people. We've had in business some challenges, we've had some wins, we've had progress, and we've had setbacks. I think that's just part of business life, really. But I feel that we've done a lot of the hard work this year to put ourselves in a much better place next year. Now, I'm an optimist. I'm always positive about the future. And I think that sometimes that is reflected in my predictions as well. But my optimism this time around is based on real work that's gone in from the team, ourselves, to really put us on for a strong footing next year. And I am excited about next year because I'm not scared of it. I'm not like, oh, the things that we need to do next year are scary or intimidating. They're fun. I'm excited by what we're planning to do rather than intimidated. And sometimes it takes a long time to learn lessons, and in business it feels that way. But I feel we're setting ourselves up for success next year and working on the things we are absolutely best at. And that excites me.
Yeah, I was going to say something similar, which just feels like it's been a year of doing hard things. We've done a lot of that, and that means that next year is going to be easier. Right, that's how it works. I think it's got to be partially how it works at least. It has been mixed because there have been loads of positives, but there have been some really tough bits. But that's what you need to do to set yourself up for a great future. So I was sitting here a year ago feeling intimidated, to put it mildly, going into the following year. But today, I'm feeling excited. I know there's going to be loads of great stuff ahead, and that is all getting started in just a few days' time with a bumper January.
Yes, indeedy. I am very, very much looking forward to January because we're going big. We're going big on the podcast. We're going big on YouTube. We're going to put out more content than any other point of the year to kick you off in the best possible way. So I know we're in that little window now where you're kind of resting up, ready for the new year. Make sure you are rested because you are going to love January. We're going to bring you the good stuff. We're going to bring you stuff to set your year up for success. So I would tell you to subscribe, but I know you are already because you are our favourite type of listener. You're the listener who goes, oh, a podcast between Christmas and New Year where they're talking about themselves a bit. I'll still listen. So you, listening right now, you're our favourite. We love you. Thank you for supporting the podcast. You're the best type of listener, and that's why we do what we do, because people like you listen to all the stuff we put out, the best of it and the maybe occasional self-indulgent part. But that's awesome, and that's why we push ourselves when we're busy to put out even more content than ever before, because it's your support that motivates us. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. And I know you'll be joining us back here same time next week for our first episode of the year, and we've got a good one lined up for you. So until then, enjoy the break if you're getting one, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.